What is going on, FA Nation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Time MLB DFS Game Day live show. Apologies for the delayed start here. We had some issues we were working through, but we're here. We got 6 games on the Monday main slate to talk about. Some interesting matchups, some changes since you and I broke down the slate this morning on the preview show. So we'll certainly be going over those. Henry Wilson was on the playbook today. That is live over on Fantasy Farm for everybody to check out there as well. And we appreciate you all tuning in, understanding that football is still going on. There's Monday Night Football here today. But we still have some MLB DFS still to play. So happy to have you all in there. If you want to leave a comment in our comment section over on X, over on YouTube, just hit that subscribe button. You'll be able to leave a comment there. Free way to support the work we do here at Fantasy Alarm. Hit a like as well. Again, James and I are here to help you set your lineups and get you guys ready for tonight's DFS slate. James, buddy, how we doing, man?
Good. You didn't mention there's now there's an alien life form on the slate now too. We didn't have previously. He's a Martian. There's a Martian now taking over the slate. So a lot of
Jason Dominguez.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty good baseball player. Probably should have been on the team.
3,600
ago, but yeah, not bad. It's an interesting slate. Nothing obviously changed in terms of like top tier pitching. There were some changes. The Mets made a pitching change. The Blue Jays made it. I almost called them the Raptors. The Blue Jays made a pitching change. The White Sox made a pitching change. So there's a few different things that we're gonna have to break down here. A lot of the lineups are out. No weather concerns. The only thing weather note is that it is like 90 plus degrees in LA and the ball is going to travel. And that's bad news for Kyle Hendricks and Walker Buehler. But yeah, let's get into it. It's a fun little 6-gamer that we shouldn't be here too long breaking down. But so if you have your questions, get them in now. John and I will obviously help you through them. But if there's questions, we will not be here until 6. So we'll tell you that.
Top price pitching today. Again, nobody over $9,000. Rodon at home against Kansas City. David Festa at home against the Angels. Brady Singer gets the Yankees. Brian Bayo home against Baltimore. This morning, we kind of keyed in on Festa. You are a little bit more bullish on Rodon than I was, but certainly both of those guys in pretty good spots. Reviewing the slate here today as we get this closer to roster lock. Has anything changed for you when it comes to these top 4?
I mean, Festa has become my number 1 with a bullet since the day started. The strikeout stuff, you're starting to look at the data play out for David Festa. He's up to an 11 K per 9. He has a 29% strikeout rate. And that's obviously in large part due to the back-to-back 7 strikeout games, but he's had 5 strikeouts or more in 4 straight outings. So he's missing bats at an elite rate. His ERA versus some of his expected numbers, his Sierra is low 3s, his xFIP is low 3s. Largely suggesting it had been a lot of unlucky stuff, which we've talked about with Festa. And you look, since the first 2 starts, he allowed 7 and 5 earned runs. Since then, he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned in any single start that he's made. So I expect the unlucky win stuff to turn around as well. I mean, you're talking about a guy who, if he picks up wins in those last 2 starts, were 21 and 25 fantasy points. Like, he has not gotten any luck when it comes to winning baseball games. So Festa's become my number 1 overall play of the day. I like Rodon because I like the strikeouts. And, when you talk about the rest of the pitching position, there's just so many question marks everywhere.
Yeah.
That, like, if you just plug in Rodon Festa, which is obviously not expensive at all, you still have over $4,000 to handle the rest of your lineup. And you're just simply locking in the highest strikeout pairing you can possibly have on today's slate. So yeah. I still think Festa's number 1, but Rodon's 2. Not a lot of interest in Singer at all on the road. And, you can play Bayo. The problem is the Baltimore lefties are obviously scary, and that's where he struggled the most.
Sure. Under $8,000, Taylor McGill now on the slate, going up against Toronto here. Reed Detmer, $7,700. We talked about him last night. 10 strikeouts against the Dodgers, now draws the Twins. We have obviously Walker Buehler, Jared Schuster now starting for the White Sox. Anything for you of interest here?
Not like overly excited about it. I like the McGill strikeout stuff, but it's obviously not a good strikeout spot.
Right.
You know, like he probably has the highest ceiling when it comes to strikeouts. He's over a strikeout per inning. Him and Detmers are probably 1 and 2 right there.
Yeah, Detmers obviously has a super high
strikeout. Super high strikeout ceiling. He has I would say the harder matchup of the two guys.
Yeah.
I'm good with both them in tournaments. Schuster's not going to be extended too long. Like Schuster will probably pitch into the third at max. Nastrini is still expected to be a part of the White Sox bullpen. It's an appealing spot it still remains an appealing spot because one, there is a lefty starting the game, right? That's where the Guardians are elite. And the White Sox still have the worst bullpen in the league. So even if it's Nastrini not pitching after Schuster, I mean, it's somebody else who has a elevated ERA and is not very good. So definitely more prone to play Cleveland than I would either of those pitchers. Walker Buehler looked better in his start against the Angels, but it's still largely been a disappointing season. And there's just no reason that you think if he gets through like 5 innings, kind of like the Angel start, where you're like confident he's going back out for the 6th. He had 83 pitches, and Dave Roberts was just like, nah, my bullpen's going to take it from here. And, 15 fantasy points. I do have a little bit of interest in Cade Povich, and you and I talked about it last night.
You have a lot of interest in Cade Povich.
I do. Well, yes, in multiple areas of fantasy baseball. Yes, I'm pretty confidently expecting a lot of strikeout stuff. We've gone so long throughout the year, and you should, like, when you look at Boston's lineup, you're like, these guys have historically, like, in terms of you look at Devers, historically has been great against lefties, right? No matter. Jarren Duran's having his best year of his career. Tyler O'Neill crushes lefties. Rob Refsnyder hits lefties. Connor Wong hits lefties. And you say all that. Trevor Story obviously hasn't been here, but you say all that, and then you look, and it's like, oh, they still lead baseball throughout the entire year in strikeout rate. They still have a 30% strikeout rate when you lessen the sample. Like any sample you use, Boston is just striking out at an infinitely higher clip than anybody else in baseball against lefties. And Povich is coming off, and it's not even like you look at it, it's like, oh, they're also bottom 3 in every offensive category against lefties over the last month. ISO, OPS, WOBA, WRC+, 27th or worse in all those categories. And Povich has pitched better outside of, the Dodgers Houston start. 2 of the last 4 starts, he's gone over 6 innings. He's allowed 2 earned runs or less, and he's had 6 or more strikeouts. You look at that, like, that's what he does. He's done at every level where he's missed a lot of bats, right? Yeah. He was a pretty highly coveted prospect. And now you're putting him in Boston where it's like, not like the best hitting weather that we've seen all year. It's going to be in the 70s into the 60s, during the game. So I think that there's infinite risk with Cade Povich. And if your risk aversion is very low, then he's probably not like someone that you're considering. But if you want to play, like, actively play Dodgers against Kyle Hendricks and like the good ones, Ohtani, Betts, Freeman, then you need to spend down on a Povich or a Joey Cantillo, who, is another guy who hasn't really pitched well at the major league level. And by that, I mean, he has not pitched at all.
I was going to say, yeah.
You talked about it.
Some really bad matchups. 3 on the road, home against Baltimore. Like,
they're literally every one of those teams he's faces in the playoffs. Right?
Yeah.
Right. Every single one. First 5 starts of your major league career. Good luck. You're facing all playoff teams. So like, yeah, he allowed 6 home runs in his first 4 starts. Yes, shocking. But like
small slate, right?
Small slate, and he gets the White Sox. Like, this is probably one of those things where he's like, guys, can you please just call me up now? Like, let me face this team. This team who's hit 2 home runs in their last 300 at bats against lefties, and has just been obviously historically the worst team ever. So I think Cantillo is probably the more popular of the punts. I think Cade Povich is a perfectly fine option off of Cantillo.
Would you go any cheaper? You have a 4K starter on the board, or 4K pitcher at least.
Yeah, he's going to open, and then Ryan Yarbrough is expected to be the long man. Yarbrough's been really good for Toronto, so you can obviously play the Mets because the Mets are really good against lefties. So no interest in Ryan Burr.
Okay. Catcher. We talked Cubs catchers last night.
We did.
Still going there?
Yeah, always. I mean, there's just no. I don't think we have. Usually, this is about the time we get lineups for the late games. No, nothing yet. I fully expect. Who did we say? Whose day is it officially? Amaya played yesterday, so we'll get Bethancourt.
Yeah, we thought Bethancourt. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll get Bethancourt 2,500. I think that's perfectly fine.
I mean, $200 back. We get the cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, I do think like he is obviously a punt. I don't hate a lot of. I'm gonna be honest. I don't hate Austin Wells at $4,500 against Brady Singer. Brady Singer really, really bad against left-handed pitching.
Sure.
Yankees more stackable, I'd say, than ever with Jason Dominguez like playing. Right, it's like he's 3,600 hitting sixth. So like if you wanted to spend up on your catcher 45, Dominguez helps you and correlates to Wells, helps you pay up for catcher. So I like Wells. Don't hate like Connor Wong, David Fry area.
Sure.
David Fry hitting second. We know how good he is against lefties.
Yeah.
And, I know that'll only be one at bat.
He'll get an at bat.
But it will still be but it's still, at the end of the day, it's still the White Sox bullpen, which is terrible, right? Like long term, it's still a really good spot. So Fry hitting second, I think, is a really interesting lineup spot. And again, just don't overthink it if you just want to punt the position. Just by
agreed. First base, obviously, we like the Dodgers here with Ohtani and Freeman. We had liked the lefties for Cleveland. I think we can still go there, even with Schuster pitching the inning. Is Manzardo? No Manzardo, which was a value play we had looked at.
Yeah, they're playing big. They're playing Big Christmas today.
Yep. So you got Naylor at 43, and then you got the Dodgers up top here.
Yeah, I think that's mainly where I'd live as well. I loved Vladdy as a contrarian play when it wasn't Tyler McGill pitching, because the Blackburn struggles against righties. McGill does not have those same struggles. He's largely just been a good pitcher overall, so struggles more with lefties. So it's the Dodgers for me. Naylor for sure. You can play Horwitz. Just mentioned McGill's struggles against lefties over the last 30 days have been pretty evident. I think punting Anthony Rizzo at 3,500 is fine. He's been okay. He hasn't been anything special. Has one double-digit fantasy point game since returning.
Yuli Gurriel is back, eh?
Yeah, he's been playing. Like he got hurt in his first game back.
Yeah,
and then or second game back, and then they signed him, Pham, and someone else all on the same day. They were the only team that claimed him off waivers. But I mean, hey, he the only thing he's ever really done is hit, right? He's not a bad hitter at 2,300 if you're being contrarian and stacking against Rodon.
He used to hit and then he cheated. He's on those Astros teams. So.
That is true. That is very true.
You got Nico Cavadas. We know he'll either home run, strike out. So
well, we know he largely will only strike out, and then you'll get he's averaging home run every 8 games, almost every 8 games. So I think I think it's a little too soon for another home run here, John.
I agree. Got 2 walks last game. Yeah.
I mean, hey, we called him Adam Dunn right off the bat, right? Walk, home run, or strikeout.
Cam the Man saying the Martian's going deep tonight.
I mean, he homered off Justin Verlander in his first career at bat last year. So
now everybody's homering off Justin Verlander. So
this is why I specified last year to make it like more.
If you're Verlander, just go retire. You got your wife is Kate Upton. You're like, what are you doing? Just you're 40, giving up home runs.
He could
Go
definitely
sit on the
retire,
beach.
and
You know,
he could be happy not playing baseball.
he could be fine. Second base. Jimenez is hitting 7th.
I know, it's so sad. I mean,
Just because they have a lefty coming in for an inning.
Yeah, like I think Schuster probably pitches a couple, depending on how well it goes.
Sure.
But it is annoying that he's been hitting so well second. That's probably like a psyche thing too, right? Like you're hitting, moved up to second, great. I'm gonna keep hitting, and then they're like, actually, you're hitting 7th again. Joke's on you. And it's like, oh, we suck again.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I still play Jimenez for sure.
Sure. Gavin Lux is 38. Will Wagner's 31, hitting 5th. Romy hitting 5th against Povich.
Yeah, that's like the player pool. That's my player pool. That's what I want. And if you do, we've talked about the Brooks Lee thing for a minute. I don't think we have a Twins lineup yet, but his better split in the minors was against lefties. So I expect Brooks Lee's in the lineup over like an Edward Julian. So we'll see what they do. But if Brooks Lee's in the lineup, I do think he's a punt option.
Third base.
Very interesting position.
Spinning up. Where are we going?
Yeah, I mean, Ramirez is obviously elite. I've said it like all year long. If you want to play him against a lefty, by all means, and you're going to get Jose Ramirez against the worst bullpen in baseball. So again, I don't know if you saw my tweet today, but I'll just tell you, this is how I feel about the Guardians. Okay. Hypothetically, John, if I were to talk about how the Guardians offense could not miss today, I wouldn't be jinxing them, because I'm actually not saying it. Just hypothetically, they can't miss, but again, not jinxing it. That's how I feel about the Guardians. Hypothetically, if I were to tell you that the Guardians are my favorite stack of the day, I'm not jinxing that. But that's just hypothetical. It's a hypothetical thought that if I thought that the Guardians were the best stack of the slate, I wouldn't mention it.
Okay. Value?
I mean, Jazz, I would also want to say I would love playing Jazz Chisholm too. Hitting 5th is the best position in the lineup he's hit.
It's a good stack today if you wanted to go there, right?
Dude, I mean, I know Judge has been bad lately, but obviously that doesn't really matter when he's.
So if you just play Jazz, Soto, and Dominguez, like
it's a very solid stack, and some correlation obviously with Jazz, Dominguez. So yeah, love Jazz. You can play Royce Lewis if you think he's going to home run. He only homers at home, and he only hits home runs against lefties. So if you want to play Royce, by all means. Muncy's obviously in play for a home run. Hit one yesterday. Paridi or Vientos, another guy we thought was just going to hit 3rd. He's not. He's now hitting 2nd. Right. But he's going to get, a heavy dosage of Yarborough. So we love the lefty matchup. You can play Miranda, who's going to hit in the middle of the lineup. Jose Iglesias hitting 5th. That's a little bit interesting because we're going to see Yarborough pitching, and get extended. Oswaldo Cabrera in the lineup tonight for the Yankees. He's been better against righties this year. I've talked about it a lot this year, but Brady Singer on the road against lefties, that's been his Achilles heel. So if you want to play Oswaldo for cheap exposure to a Yankee stack, by all means, do that too.
Sure. Going on over to short. We liked Lindor a lot last night. Has that changed for you at all?
No, I mean, I don't think you could play any of the top 3. Gunner's been good. Lindor has been great. Witt. So any of the top 3, lock and load, no objections.
Sure. Mid and value tiers. Story is 36. You got Edmund there at 37. Swanson's 39. What are your thoughts here?
Yeah, I think Dansby makes a lot of sense when you're looking at Walker Buehler and how much he struggled. Righties over the last 30 days against Walker Buehler, 258 ISO, 427 WOBA. Those are awful numbers. Anthony, I like David Festa tonight. That's my SP1. So if on a one-pitcher site, I'd go David Festa over Rodon. But both have the highest strikeout ceiling. So you're on the right path with those two.
Sure.
So I think Dansby is an elite play. The Dodgers will obviously be the more popular team. The Cubs will not. So I think the Cubs are very contrarian. Good home run park. Story is fine against a lefty. Has looked fine in his few games back. Mentioned Brooks Lee, and I do think if you're playing Guardians, Brian Rocchio has been really good for them lately. 320 average over his last 10 games, 940 OPS, couple home runs and a stolen base away from 10 and 10. Like obviously, it's what he not expected to be like any type of productive player, and he's been good lately. So I think for a wraparound piece to your Cleveland stacks, Rocchio at 26 makes sense.
Sure. Outfield then. Judge, Soto, as you mentioned there, all the Red Sox got the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're all great. Judge, Soto are great. Otani's great. Betts is great. Duran has been slumping a little, and by a little I mean like not a lot of like extra bases lately, which is like weird considering all the extra base hits he's had. Probably not the spot I'd like want to go, but we've talked about the Baltimore pricing. Awful pricing on Baltimore makes them essentially impossible to get to unless you just want to be super contrarian and like spend up on Baltimore instead of the Dodgers or the Yankees. Like that's your only way you're playing Baltimore. O'Neill's obviously great against lefties. No one's going to play Bellinger going back to to LA here. But if you want to play Bellinger, I think that makes a lot of sense too. I have like a lot of I really like Seiya Suzuki tonight just with how bad Bueller's been against right-handed hitters. And Seiya's been really good against righties this year. 221 ISO, 359 WOBA.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested in Suzuki, very interested in Hap. When you keep going down, like Nimmo's fine, JD Mart's fine. The Mets are, I think, fine stack today. Not like anything I'm like.
Sure. You mentioned Big Christmas there, 42. Thomas gets a lefty, at least for a little bit, 4K. Let's see. Anything else in this mid-range for us here? Got Ref Snyder, obviously. Pham leading off at 37. And then Dominguez, Pete Crow Armstrong, both of those guys, good price, 36 and 35.
Yeah, love both those players. I think Dominguez, both obviously have a high ceiling because like PCA has flash power and can steal bases. I mean, he's so fast. But I think Dominguez, obviously, you're playing him with the thought like that guy can hit me 2 home runs and it wouldn't be surprising, right? Like that's so obviously elite power from both sides of the plate against a guy who struggles against lefty bats. So yeah, I love Dominguez, love PCA, Moniak if you're fading Festa, which
Sure.
I think Festa is the best pitcher on the slate, but we've talked about the Angels a lot lately. They do have some pieces that are Taylor Ward's hitting a bunch of home runs, Moniak's hitting a bunch of home runs.
Number 1 overall pick, right? Like,
yeah. So I mean, if you are not on Festa, who is at the end of the day still a rookie, like handful of starts into his career, I get it. We were wondering where
Luke's last night is obviously McGill now there.
Yeah, now hitting 9th. I was just kind of wondering where they were going to hit him. I know like they hit him first because Springer was off, but yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, he's obviously been wildly good. Oh, Robbie Grossman, that was the other KC piece that they claimed on the same day as like Pham, and he's hitting 4th.
Hitting cleanup today.
Yeah. I mean, like
that's gross, man.
That is gross, man. He has literally. There must be something that teams all talk about when it comes to this guy, and they're like, "Yo, he's the best lefty hitter I've ever seen." Right? Because like every team he's plays for hits him first, second, third, or fourth. Like he will never hit below 4th until he retires against a left-handed pitcher.
He's a serviceable bat,
No, I know, but isn't it weird? Everywhere he goes, I mean, he's just got here. He's hitting 4th for the Royals against the left. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, Corey Jokes enough, 2,900.
Yeah, look, I will say this: the White Sox are easily the most affordable stack you'll ever play in your life. Because one player over 3,500 in their offense. So, I mean, if you want to pair the White Sox because you need to play the Dodgers, obviously, a squirrel can find a nut every once in a while, right? So,
alrighty, so we plug in our Yankees here.
Yeah.
We do PCA, Dominguez, and like Soto.
Yeah, I like that.
Now we did stack Dodgers on the pre-show, but a little pivot action there. Catcher, we like Betancourt. We'll work backwards.
We could just be contrarian and just play Cubs in this lineup, like where everyone's gonna stack Dodgers. It's like the same thing where we ranked the Los Angeles teams, and I told you that the Angels were one. And we could just stack that game and just play more Cubs like Swanson.
We'll play Ohtani at his natural position of first base.
Yes, he is a first baseman by heart for sure.
Natural first base position, Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah, for sure.
You mentioned where's Cabrera? Is he third?
Yeah, he plays. Yeah, he's a third.
4,500 shortstop.
Dansby, yeah.
You got 2-man Dodgers. You got a 3-man Cubs. 3 Yankees. Festa, but Povich. If you're fine with the Povich play,
I am. I am.
And you Festa to you number 1 play of the slate.
Festa's number 1 play. Yeah.
There it is then. Anthony wants to know: FanDuel, Festa or Rodon?
I answered it. It's okay.
Okay, FanDuel.
I gave him the rundown. I said he has the right 2 guys that you want to play. So Agreed. It's Festa, but you got the right. You're on the right track.
Do we like Blue Jays today?
I mean, I think nothing has changed in terms of like the price of the Blue Jays are super.
You can always play Vladdy.
You can always play Vladdy, but like the rest of the lineup is incredibly cheap. So the lefties are more appealing outside of Vladdy, just given the splits for McGill lately. 400 WOBA for left-handed bats over the last 30 days. So the Varsho, Horwitz, Wagner, like 2, 4, 5. And if you want to play Vladdy, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think that would be my like stack for Toronto. But
blowing up the lineup for everybody so you can see it a little better.
Blowing up the lineup. Do you feel worse about Rodon with the KC lineup?
I mean, they got Robbie Grossman hitting cleanup, so I don't really think I feel worse about it.
So, like, what I'd say is that obviously Tommy Pham, traditionally better against lefties.
Yeah.
Bobby Witt, good against everyone. Salvi, traditionally better against lefties, but good against everyone. Grossman, specifically good against lefties. Hunter Renfroe has been historically better against lefties, but that's not.
Do they have Furman in the lineup today?
They do not. Yuli Gurriel is hitting 6th. Michael Garcia is hitting 7th. He's obviously better against lefties. Yep. Massey's hitting 8th. Is a lefty. Hasn't really hit lefties all too well. Yep. Garrett Hampson's hitting 9th. I mean, like Garrett Hampson, yes.
In course, he hit lefties well.
Hits lefties better. Last 30 days, right-handed bats against Carlos Rodon, 167 ISO, basically implied with his expected ISO, and then 312 WOBA is actually 20 points better than his expected WOBA. So, the top 3 batters in this lineup have 200 plus isolated power against lefties.
Yeah,
that's good. Renfroe 160, Grossman 150. I mean, it's fine. I would say at the end of the day, like no matter who's in that KC lineup, Rodon still has more strikeout upside than like anybody else other than Festa.
Yep, agreed. So there again, there is the lineup: Festa, Povich, Betancourt, Ohtani, Lux, Cabrera, Swanson, Pico Armstrong, Jasson Dominguez, Juan Soto there. We'll be back tomorrow, everybody. Make sure you check out the preview show, and then at 5 p.m., the live stream. Hit the like button there. Free way to support what we do. We're also giving you a 7-day free trial right now. If you sign up, fanstom.com/win. You can still use promo code Let's Go, so you'll get your first month for less than $20. But you can try us for free for 7 days as well, simply by signing up for an all-pro subscription, whether it's annual or monthly. So check that out, fanstom.com/win. And promo code Let's Go still gets that first month for less than $20. James and I will be back tomorrow. We'll see you then.